Welcome to the Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. birthday celebration. Each year, we come together to celebrate the man and his message. Now join us from the Greater Tacoma Convention and Trade Center for this year's celebration. Welcome to the Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.
Welcome. Please stand for the presentation of the colors by the Tacoma Fire Department and the singing of the national anthems by Stephanie Ann Johnson, accompanied by the Tacoma Youth Symphony.
Prepare to post. Post. Detail and all uniformed personnel. Freeze it. Pick up. Freeze it. On.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in our gay proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave? Lift every voice and sing, till earth and heaven ring with the harmonies of liberty. Let our rejoicing rise high as the listening skies. Let it resound loud as the rolling sea. Sing taught us. Sing a song full of the hope that the present has brought us, facing the rising sun of our new day begun. Let us march on till victory is won.
Ready, face, forward, march.
Please remain standing as we observe a moment of silence in honor of fallen Pierce County officer Dan McCartney. Thank you. Now I'll introduce Pastor Javon McCoy from Citywide Ecclesion of Christ Church, who will inspire us with today's invocation.
Can you bow with me as we pray to God for today? Our Father, we recognize your greatness. We recognize the beauty of your creation, the splendor of your imagination, and we thank you for this day. And we come to you, we recognize our failures, we recognize our shortcomings, and we come to you first to thank you and recognize you and seek your forgiveness. God, we want to thank you for your grace and your mercy. We want to thank you for all those who are assembled here today. We thank you for the city leaders. We thank you for the MLK Day committee, for your servant leaders, for the work and the planning that went into today's celebration. And Father, you provide for us the very power for each one of us to be the change. And so today, we celebrate the life and leadership of your manservant, Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., a soldier for justice, race, peace, love for all people. One of the things that comes to mind, Dr. King says that love is the only force capable of transforming an enemy into a friend. He also tells us that he's decided to stick with love because hate is too far a greater burden to bear. And since we know that you are the love, we desire that you permeate this atmosphere. And we ask that you bring comfort to all those who have suffered loss, friends, neighbors, and family members. We pray for our children. We pray for our parents. We pray for our seniors, our city officials, our police officers, our first responders, our healthcare servants, and our national and world leaders. Be with us today. Be with all those who participate in the celebration. Give them the strength and power to encourage and strengthen us so we can be your catalyst for fruitful change. We ask all this in the name of Jesus, we pray. Amen.
The Grant Center for Expressive Arts is an elementary school in central Tacoma which provides opportunities for self-expression, collaboration, and interdisciplinary learning by including the arts in all aspects of learning. Both the Troubadours and the dance company must meet the highest expectations artistically, behaviorally, and academically in order to participate in this program. Please welcome the Grant Troubadours and Dance Company performing One Nation. Good morning. So glad to be here with you today. On behalf of the City of Tacoma, welcome to the 30th Annual Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Birthday Celebration. Now, some of you might be looking up here saying, that doesn't look like Rashad. I am not Rashad, I'm Tanisha Jumper. Rashad is unable to be with us today as he is battling that awful flu everyone is battling, and so we wish him a speedy recovery. So with that, I will ask for your grace and patience as I work through this agenda today. I want to thank you again to Pastor Javon McCoy from Citywide Ecclesian Church of Christ for today's multi-faith invocation, the color guard of our own Tacoma Fire Department, and our own Stephanie Ann Johnson and the Tacoma Youth Symphony for the performances of both anthems. Thank you to our sponsors and supporters, Tacoma Public Schools, Grant Center for Expressive Arts, Meeker Middle School, the School of the Arts, TV Tacoma, Tacoma Public Utilities, the West End and Northeast Neighborhood Councils, Host Hospitality, Event Planning, and many more. You will find a full list of sponsors listed on the back of your program. Also, thank you to the incredible community organizations, all of the city departments for coming together on this National Day of Service. To our always present volunteers, thank you so much. I'm also full of joy to be here with you to honor Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. This year, our theme is Be the Change. Yes, be the change, and it's more important than ever. No more sitting, just watching this TV screen. No more typing on your keyboard saying all the things you want to do, wish you could do, wish someone else would do. But really about us taking steps to be the change in this world. We have a special presentation for you all today, including students from our public schools here in Tacoma. As you participate in this presentation, please keep in mind how you can be the change. The time for rhetoric is out. It's time for action. Now I'd like to introduce our sign language interpreter, Miss Linda Burgess Duncan. This is a very special year for Linda. She has asked me to share a message for her in her own words. I'm especially blessed to be here for this 20th year. During the last 4 months of 2017, the Lord healed me from brain and lung cancer and brain surgery. I'd like to ask my husband, family, and friends to please stand. I want everyone to know, yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I fear no evil, for thou art with me. Thank you. Thank you, Linda. And now, it's a great honor for me to introduce one of my first mentors and your mayor of the City of Tacoma, Ms. Victoria Woodards.
I am absolutely humbled and honored by that response. What an incredible day in the city of Tacoma. What an awesome opportunity to celebrate a man who made this day possible for me. I'd like to take this opportunity to make sure that I recognize all of our elected officials who are with us. I just want you to stand because the work that gets done in this city gets done because of you. So would all of our elected officials who have joined us today please stand? From our congressman to our county executive, to our city council members, to our auditor, to all of you who are here today. I welcome you to the 30th annual Martin Luther King celebration in the great place that we all call home, the city of Destiny, this great city of Tacoma. I want to just quickly take a moment and add my thank you to Linda Burgess Duncan, who has been here with us for so long, who really is standing on this stage this morning as a tribute to what it means to persevere. She is a living witness standing there working on behalf of this city and all of you, because she believed that fighting through was better than giving up. And look what it gets you when you fight through. This year's theme, Be the Change. When I thought about it, you gotta take it personally. Because it isn't about asking someone else to do it. It's about taking responsibility and doing it yourself. It's about being your own change. One of my favorite Martin Luther King quotes is, "Everyone can be great because anyone can serve." So being the change doesn't mean pointing at your neighbor or pointing at someone else. It means taking that finger and pointing it right back at yourself and asking yourself, how can I make the place that I live a better place? How can I make the school that I go to a better school? How can I make sure that the job I show up at every single day is a better place? Our city, our jobs, our schools, our churches, our communities can only be as great as we decide they will be. But I'm convinced that unlike what we hear on the national front, that right here in Tacoma, we are a changing city. We are a city that loves our neighbors. We are a city that cares about our children. And we're a city that's willing to stand up and do the work to make Tacoma the place where everyone lives out their creed and what it means to be a part of this place we call the city of destiny. I challenge us in 2018 to not just make this today's theme, but to make this our personal theme, so that every morning when we wake up, every time we run into somebody who's different than us, that we'll think about what can we do differently. Love is not something that you hold on to yourself. Love is something that you share with everyone. And I believe in 2018 that this city is going to become an even bigger city of love. A city where we believe that everyone who lives here has the right to be respected and to be cared for. Can we do that together? I believe if we commit to that, Tacoma will continue to be the city of change, the city of destiny. Happy Martin Luther King Day, and I invite you all to take this message with you, not just today, but as you live through the next 365 days of 2018. Thank you very much.
Isn't she amazing? Every year, the City Events and Recognition Committee receives nominations for prestigious Martin Luther King Jr. Community Service Awards. The awardee is selected to receive the honor who exemplifies the commitment to the legacy of Dr. King. This year, the selection committee had many wonderful and deserving nominations to consider, that it was not at all an easy decision. But they ultimately have chosen someone whom I think you will agree exemplifies the teaching of Dr. King so well, Dr. Dexter Gordon. Let's watch this video to learn just a bit more about Dr. Gordon.
I was born in Old Harbour Bay, St. Catherine, on the south coast of Jamaica. I was number 7 of 14 children for my father and my mother.
I have a dream.
Even though it may be hard, even though it may be challenging, I saw Dr. King as committing his entire life to his work, his family, and to his people. And he was always there, walking literally abreast of the poor. That's what I saw my father doing. That's what I saw Dr. King doing. He reinforced that for me. And to me, there could not be a better example to follow in life. I came to the United States on a scholarship. While working, I completed an undergraduate degree. And then I got a scholarship to Wheaton College in Wheaton, Illinois. And that's where I did a master's degree. After I finished the master's degree, I returned to Jamaica and then applied to do my PhD. I was invited to consider a job at the University of Puget Sound, and I called my wife, Sharon, and I said to her verbatim, "I have found the place." And I'm very proud of the work we've done at the University of Puget Sound. I was first dedicated faculty member in African American Studies. We've built the program from offering a minor to now where we offer a major in African American Studies, the only private liberal arts college in the Pacific Northwest. For that, we've gained national recognition from the American Association of Colleges and Universities. I'm very proud of my colleagues and of the work we've done together on the campus. I'm part of the Black Collective. I helped to found the Conversation, a social justice organization, and I was part of the founding of Tacoma Civil Rights Project. Martin Luther King Jr.'s influence has remained with me, and I am truly honored to be recognized and awarded with a ceremonial honor in his name. So that is truly an honor, and I cannot thank the city of Tacoma enough.
Thank you.
It's a great video. And thank you for all your contributions. I'm going to ask Mayor Wooders to come back up and give some words about Dr. Gordon.
Dr. Gordon, would you please join me up here? You know, those of you who've heard me speak before, sometimes I talk about walking the talk. That it's easy to talk a lot, but when you actually have to take what you're saying and turn it into action, that tends to be a little bit harder. But as long as I've known Dr. Gordon, he's always walked the talk. He has been a fearless leader in our community, standing up against injustice and speaking out. And we are so lucky, Dr. Crawford, to have him here in our great city. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in giving a round of applause to our 2018 30th annual Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Birthday Celebration Award to Dr. Dexter Gordon.
Be seated, please. Thank you, Mayor Woodards. Congratulations on your election. I know that you will work hard to continue to make Tacoma the kind of community Dr. King envisioned. I give honor to God, and I honor the Puyallup tribe and other native people on whose land we stand. And I say thank you, Tacoma. To the family of Deputy Dan McLaren, I say thank you for his life given in service to us. Thank you to the City Events and Recognition Committee and Erin Lee, its chair. Thank you, Diane Powers, and the staff at the City of Tacoma's Office of Equity and Human Rights. Fred Yomes and TV Tacoma, thank you. Thanks, dear friends and colleagues across Tacoma, the Pacific Northwest, Jamaica, many watching from Jamaica, and elsewhere. I appreciate your friendship and partnership. Judge Leroy McCullough and the Seattle crew, thank you. President Isaiah Crawford and Vice President Chris Bartnen of the University of Puget Sound, thank you for being here. To my friend and partner in the trenches of the work of education and justice, Grace Livingston, thank you. To my colleagues and partners, Nancy Bristow, Carolyn Weiss, Renee Sims, LaToya Brackett, Mike Benitez, so many other colleagues at the University of Puget Sound, thank you. The conversation, my people, thank you. The Black Collective, Pierce County Healthcare Alliance, the Emerging Black Alumni Union, the American Leadership Forum, thank you. Tina McLeod, thank you for pulling so many pieces together. And then family. My big, wonderful, beloved family in and from Jamaica. 16 siblings and their families, cousins, nieces, and nephews now spread across the world. You are the best. Special welcome and thanks to two of those here with us today. Donovan, would you please stand? My brother and friend. And Norma, my eldest sister, who helped to raise me and to whom belongs significant credit for who I am today. Thanks to my 4 children, Donna, Janelle, and LeVar, now making their own mark in the world, along with their families, Kirk and Kedan, including their 3 children, Rajan, London, and Aman. And to our youngest, Tacoma Public Schools' own Amara, now a junior at Dartmouth and away on study abroad in India. You, all of you, are the beat of my heart. Finally, to my wife Sharon, you are a force and I love you. You took the trek with me from the east to the great Pacific Northwest. We have found a community and have made our own unique contributions here. You are the light and joy of my life. I'm honored and humbled to receive Tacoma's Martin Luther King Jr. Community Service Award. In appreciation for the history of struggle, I accept this award in the spirit and memory of Morel and Eutedra Gordon, my parents, and the millions of oppressed people across the world and in the United States, who, along with Dr. King, found their courage, straightened their backs, stood up, and decided that they would be the change. I'm receiving this award in a world and at a moment of climate change and war, resulting in a worsening refugee crisis, with 65.6 million people being displaced forcibly in 2017 alone, 22 million refugees, 10 million stateless people, people with no sense of a place on earth. This moment is one of distressingly profane vulgarity in US politics and policy proposals. It is one of continued vulnerability for people of color, LGBTQ and other non-cis bodies, poor people, and migrants from across the world. I accept this award on behalf of all who, in the face of those daunting challenges, still dare to be the change. Give me your poor, your huddled masses yearning to breathe free. I, Dexter Gordon, an immigrant from Jamaica, accept this award in the name of the children of the Caribbean. I accept this award in the name of the children of El Salvador. I accept this award in the name of the children of Haiti. I accept this award on behalf of the children of Africa. I accept this award on behalf of the 70,000 dreamers in the United States. I accept this award on behalf of every child born outside the lines of privilege, every child who has to survive poverty, every child who has to navigate the hell that is war. I accept in the name of every child in the United States born with the odds stacked against them. Finally, and now I really need your help. Since you're already standing, if you're a first-generation immigrant to this country, raise your hand with me. If you're a second-generation immigrant to this country, raise your hand with me. If you're a third-generation immigrant to this country, raise your hand with me. If you're a fourth-generation immigrant to this country, raise your hand with me. If you're a fifth-generation immigrant to this country, raise your hand with me. If you can't even remember what generation you are, but you know you're an immigrant to this country, raise your hand with me. I accept this award on behalf of all of us. We, the change, moving together towards justice.
Thank you so much, Dr. Gordon. Thank you for being the change 365 days a year and not just talking the talk, but walking the walk. Tacoma appreciates you. Now to continue our presentation of students from Tacoma Public Schools, I have the honor of bringing to the stage a very talented young lady that I got to meet backstage named Leasia McKnight from the School of the Arts, who will perform her very own composition, Our Tree.
One road diverged into two. I said I'd take the path less taken. And as we both said our goodbyes, and as our hearts were slowly breaking, and it's one step, two steps, three steps, down that road again. One step, two steps, three steps, down that road. We build a tree that can't be broken. We build our nest with mud and tears. We pave the path our hearts will follow, until the day we crash and burn. We will go on, and we will stay strong, like the roofs of our tree, the roots of our tree. It's been years since the last time I have seen you. I wonder if I'll ever see your face again. Not gonna waste your time and tell you, oh, how I missed you, my old friend. And it's one step, two steps, three steps, down that road again. One step, two steps, three steps, down that road. We build a tree that can't be broken. We build our nest with mud and tears. We pave the path our hearts will follow, until the day we crash and burn. We will go on, and we will stay strong, like the roots of our tree, the roots of our tree. Come with me on the path less taken. It's not about what anybody else is thinking. Come with me on the path less taken. It's not about what anybody else is thinking. Come with me on the path less taken. It's not about what anybody else is thinking. Come with me on the path less taken. It's not about what anybody else is thinking. And we will go on, and we will stay strong, like the roots of our tree, the roots of our tree.
Thank you. Thank you, Elijah. That was beautiful. Can I just say that I love this city, and I'm so happy to be back here. So now I'd like to direct your attention to the video highlighting today's keynote speaker, as we welcome the Superintendent of Tacoma Public Schools and my friend Carla Santorna to the stage.
I don't have my own children. I don't want children, but I get to leave my intellectual and cognitive fingerprints on 100 kids a year who are going out and hopefully becoming more informed citizens and especially being change agents of the community. Poverty in education is a life and death matter. If I am getting kids prepared and competitive for college, then I'm setting them on a trajectory for a better, happier, healthier, longer life. There's a very strong sense of community in my classroom. Like, we're in this together. I try to cultivate sometimes a kind of like us against the world mentality, and I actually like how that works. If I'm excited about teaching, then they're excited about learning. If I'm not excited about teaching, why would they be excited about learning? If I walk in the class and say, today, kids, we're going to look at models of government around the world and compare unitary government to federalist government. First of all, it's boring. Second of all, it has no relevance. Third of all, it doesn't hit them where they are. I start the government class by explaining to them that government is the most important thing in the world they'll ever study. And whether I believe that or not, who cares? They believe it. And I had this whole rant. It's like, calculus cannot draft you into the military and send you to war. Spanish class cannot execute you. Only government can do that. So it's sales. Like, teaching's 1/3 sales, 1/3 performance art, and then 1/3 actual instruction. There's moments of flow in the classroom where you have a learning target, the kids at the learning target, and you're making connections to the text and they're connecting to their own lives. And when those moments are flowing, they don't happen all the time. Like, I wish they happen more often, but when they happen, they're amazing. They are absolutely amazing. And then, like, the bell rings and everybody's like, oh, class is over already? And I'm like, yep, come back tomorrow, 23-hour break. Like, those moments are great.
When you see a video like that, you don't need an introduction. That's the introduction. We are humbled and blessed and grateful for Nate Bowling and the work that he does in Tacoma Public Schools every day. And we know that great teachers are just like them, whether it's the first teacher at home or a community teacher or the teacher in the classroom. If you believe in your students and you support them, and you take care of them, and you build a culture of high expectations, then we're going to contribute the best citizens. Ladies and gentlemen, the national finalist and Washington State Teacher of the Year for 2016, Mr. Nathan Bowling.
I appreciate that, and I hope you're as happy when I'm finished as you are right now. Because if you know me, you know my brand is real talk. And I'll say this, I'm not a preacher, I'm a teacher. But I learned in church that a good sermon ain't got to be long and a bad one shouldn't. So I'm gonna keep this brief, but keep it very honest with you as well. I wanna thank you all for being here today and honoring Dr. King. I also want to in particular thank my students for being here today. Abe's, stand up please. I do this for you. I do this because of you. I do this thanks to you. I also want to take a minute to acknowledge my wife, who is here today. And I think it's important to acknowledge my wife because the marriage that I'm in was not possible when Dr. King was born. And in many ways, my marriage is fulfillment of that dream. I also want to take a moment to acknowledge all elected officials that are here. Particularly, I want to recognize Representative Kilmer and Representative Heck. I have some students in the back of the room who want to meet you in a moment. See what I did there? That's some work there, see? I know this about public speaking. I've done this enough to know that most of you aren't going to remember a lot of what I say. And so the one thing I want you to walk out of here with, if you don't remember anything else, remember this. You are responsible for your own language and your own words. But even more importantly, and hear me now, you're responsible for your silence and when you choose to use it. And here in 2018, a lot of folks are extra woke on a past where they were completely silent in that past. And I want to talk about that past silence, the present silence, and the future that we collectively need to build. Now, my mother was born in El Dorado, Arkansas in 1940. My father was born in Laurel, Mississippi in 1930. My stepfather, the man that raised me, was born in Texas. They all left the South for a reason. They all left the South because this is the reality they saw, and this is the reality they were engaged with. My mother was 14 years old when the Brown decision was passed down and went to school in El Dorado, Arkansas, and saw segregation. And I'm thankful that she didn't have to live the Little Rock experience. But here's the thing. A part of the Little Rock experience is who didn't use their silence. Some of the loudest some of the loudest white voices during the Civil Rights Movement were folks telling black folks to sit down and be quiet. It's the same thing today. If we look at polling from the 1960s before the March on Washington, and this is the 63 King, this isn't Radical 68 King, this is We Shall Overcome King. If we look at polling, fewer than 30% of Americans approved of the March on Washington, and about 10% of Americans disapproved because they thought it would lead to violence. If we look at the same statistics and look at what's happening today with Colin Kaepernick and Michael Bennett and Black Lives Matter protests and Dreamers, we'll see the same results. And if we look at the same data today, we'll see that is a huge portion of our population who knows what's right, who knows what's just, and chooses to be silent. And Tacoma, we can't do that no more. My parents had a dream, and they left the South and came here to Tacoma in the 1960s. And when they arrived in Tacoma, my family has basically been homesteaded at the same house in the same neighborhood on Hilltop since the 60s. I grew up looking out my bedroom window at St. Joe's Hospital within walking distance of the Fish House on 19th and M Street where my mom resides today. But is that a clap for the Fish House? Respect. But it's not an accident my family ended up there. It is through intentional structures that the neighborhood organizations and living patterns we have today were set up. And so that map that you saw a moment ago, that map was long gone as official practice when my family moved here, but the effects of that map live on in our city till today. Today, where you live will determine the quality of education you get, what access you have to resources, what access you have to parks, what accessibility you have to clean food. And the thing is, if you look at that redlining map, and they'll bring it up in a second, if you look at that redlining map, I want you to note that the areas that are lined in red are labeled hazardous. My students, my family, my home today resides in a red line map that bankers and realtors labeled as hazardous. Again, that map is long gone in practice, but that map is still real in regards to reality. And that's the equity work we need to talk about today. If I may, I'm gonna say something kind of controversial, and I may cross some folks here, but follow me on this. We can declare victory on the dream. The dream that Martin Luther King had was basically solidified and codified in documents by the time that he died. Between the Civil Rights Act, Voting Rights Act, Fair Housing Act, between Supreme Court cases like Heart of Atlanta versus US and the Loving case, the legal case for African American equality was made and cemented in law in the late 1960s to early 70s, the legal case. However, the moral case and the hearts and mind case continues to need to be fought and needs to be preserved by people. If I may, I want to cite a document that's older than Dr. King, that's certainly older than me, and frankly, that's older than the United States. There's a quote that I use in my classroom. In my classroom as a teacher, we talk about government a lot, and I'll stand before them, and I'll just start rattling off some stuff. And you know, if you know this, feel free to join in. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created. Nah. Say that like you mean it. All men are created, endowed by their Creator with certain inalienable rights, and among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. That is the Declaration of Independence this nation was founded upon, and I believe that reality exists today in law, however, not in men's hearts and not in women's hearts. So we still have work to do, but the 63 dream, in many ways, has been met. When I think about the 63 dream, I think about the future that Dr. King was talking about. And he talked about a time when little black girls and little white boys, and vice versa, could join hands. And I see this in my classroom. I see this in our schools. I see this in our neighborhoods. I see this reality. And so I say to you again, let's declare victory on the 63 dream. Martin Luther King had a dream, and as far as the law goes, that dream has been fulfilled. But we don't like to talk about 68 King. And here's the thing. If only 30% of Americans supported 63 King, a smaller percentage of Americans supported 68 King. And 68 King is the king that Fox News don't want you to talk about, that frankly, the New York Times don't want you to talk about, because 68 King had a dream that calls for a radical transformation of our city. Somebody said to me this morning, well, I hope you're not going to politicize Dr. King, and I was like, whoops. That's like saying, I hope you don't get water on a fish. Because Dr. King was not a saint, Dr. King was a radical. And one of the things we have to get our head around is that we have failed to live up to the 68 dream. In 1968, Martin Luther King gave a speech called Beyond Vietnam, where he decried militarism and decried the ongoing imperialist war in Vietnam. And what have we done with that legacy? For my students in the back, we have been at war your entire life. A war the United States started in 9/11 and has continued on your entire life. And for that war and what it's done to our culture and to our moral standing and what it's done to our economic treasure and what it's done to countries abroad, we owe an apology. We have failed to live to the King vision. And don't mishear me, this is not an anti-military talk. I'm a veteran of the military. My father's a veteran of the military. My mother's a veteran of the military. My stepfather's a veteran of the military. My uncles are veterans of the military. Don't you dare call this anti-military. This is anti-militarism. And I know there's some politicians in the front row right now who understand that the #1 employer in Pierce County is Joint Base Lewis McChord, and there's some squirming going on. But this is not about the base. This is about the policies America engages in and where we choose to spend our time, treasure, and send our amazing, valuable people to serve. If you believe in Dr. King, then you have to stand against American imperialism at home and abroad. The other place where I want to talk about Dr. King is about poverty. It is a crying shame in a nation as wealthy as this nation is, with the resources and the assets that we have, that we have not taken bigger and further steps towards the abolition of poverty. I see this as a classroom teacher every day. When students' lives are in chaos, it inhibits their ability to learn. When students don't have the basic life resources they need, how are you going to focus on me trying to walk you through a series of Supreme Court cases and the minutia of all of that at 7:30 in the morning when you are hungry, when you do not know where you're going to sleep that night, when you don't know what kind of food you're going to have? And for us here in Washington State, the home of Jeff Bezos, the richest man in the world, of Bill Gates, the second richest man in the world. By the way, met Bill Gates, nice guy, tax him more. In the home of Amazon, Microsoft, Starbucks, Costco, the founding of Boeing, the founding of UPS, to have the issues we have with equity and homelessness and poverty in this city, to have families and people working full-time at poverty wages, that is a failure to visualize the future that Dr. King had. Y'all, let me tell you, we need a new dream. We need a new dream. Because there are folks out there that have an alternate dream. I talk in my classroom about the Overton window. And the Overton window are the moments in American politics when things align and massive change happens. You get Reconstruction after the Civil War, 13th, 14th, 15th Amendment. You get the Great Depression, the creation of Social Security, the New Deal. You get the Civil Rights Movement and the Great Society programs, Medicare, Medicaid, Fair Housing Act, Voting Rights Act. There's a window in which policy change can happen, and there are some folks out there who are ready to drive through that window. I saw what happened in Charlottesville. I sat with my wife in Mexico on our summer vacation and watched neo-Nazis take over an American city and have the police outgunned, and the nation as a whole kind of just shrugged. That's a portrayal of the dream. What happens the next time that these armed militants, these paramilitaries, because that's what we would call it in another country, we would call them paramilitaries. What happens the next time when they say, you know what, we don't want a college campus, let's go to an immigrant neighborhood. Let's rampage through a neighborhood full of Mexican Americans or some other hardworking families from someplace that I'm not going to say his name, that our leader has words for. We need a new dream. And particularly here in progressive Washington State and progressive Tacoma, I think that we need to have an honest conversation about a three-part dream. The first part of that dream is about justice. Justice. Hear me, y'all. I am incredibly happy that Washington State has made great progress on ending the very stupid war on drugs by legalizing marijuana. But I also know that across this nation, there are literally tens of thousands of people who are victims of mass incarceration, who are locked away in prisons for possessing things that entrepreneurs in Washington State walk up and down the street with. Essentially, what we tax and reward in Washington State, people of color across the country get locked away for. And many of them get locked away in private prisons that are run for profit for the benefit of corporations. And how we allow it to happen in the year of our Lord, 2018, is beyond me. Many times today, honor and respect have been paid to law enforcement. I have a brother, Chris Boland, who serves in the Seattle Police Department. I hold law enforcement in great regard and have high esteem for law enforcement. Hear me. Every single person who serves this community as a law enforcement officer, you do dangerous work. You do important work. But also, it's unacceptable that in the United States, every year, law enforcement officers kill 1,100 Americans. If we're going to oppose militarism and aggression abroad, we have to oppose aggression at home as well. And what I'll say to law enforcement officers is I respect the work that you do. In many ways, you're just like teachers. There are thousands and thousands of you who are doing very amazing work, and you're being put in a bad position by systems that are not of your creation. The next thing I want to talk about for Tacoma is equity, and where we invest and where we don't invest. And I get a reminder of what equity looks like and what equity means every year at graduation. Every year at graduation, when Lincoln's going in to have their graduation rehearsal, either the Stadium kids and the Wilson kids are coming out. And because of housing segregation, you couldn't tell it's the same city. And so you cannot be living Dr. King's dream if you are sending your kids to segregated schools and living in segregated neighborhoods. And I know that's some toe-stepping, but like that is the reality. The last thing I want to talk about is the idea that we have an obligation to the poorest among us. We absolutely have an obligation to the poorest among us to do better for and by them. At the national level, we're taking steps back away from things like healthcare, when we should be taking steps forward about healthcare and taking steps forward about a living wage. When Dr. King was killed, he was in Memphis, Tennessee, supporting striking sanitation workers who were fighting for a living wage. You've seen the images. You've seen the people walking around with the signs that says, "I am a man." At the end of his life, Dr. King was not talking about, we need to hold hands and kumbaya. He was talking about meaningful work. He was talking about giving dignity to people, and that is the dream today. We need a new dream in 2018. We need a dream that centers on equity, that centers on justice, centers on a living wage, and providing for the needs of our students. Because they have a dream. Those folks in Charlottesville have a dream. All these conservative groups out there and these politicians in other states, they have a dream. We need to clearly articulate a dream and carry on Dr. King's vision and carry on his legacy, because we owe him that. We owe those children that. We owe each other that. Thank you.
Thank you, Nate, for your amazing work. Such a pleasure to have you in this community, and I look forward to working with you in the future. And now, please join in a warm welcome for Tacoma's Poet Laureate, Miss Kelly Richardson, performing her piece, Love Wins.
See that? 5-2, got a little step today. Got a little step up. It's always crazy, or it is crazy right now, to share a stage with our new mayor, because she met me when I was 15 or 16, and taught me how to walk in heels and to not have such a foul mouth sometimes. So thank you, Mayor. Y'all ready to go on a little journey with me? Huh? Thank you. So every journey begins first with articulating intention and then becoming that intention. And so I want to be very clear with you all about my intentions today and hope that you will share them with me. Since y'all like to stand so much, I'm going to ask you to do it. If you are not mobile or comfortable, that's okay too, but if you can please stand to your feet, I'd love that and be grateful for that. Thank you. I want you to put your hand to your heart and spend the next few minutes as I'm talking to have a grateful heart. Put your hand to your head and strive for a clearer consciousness. And put your hands up and strive for a compassionate spirit. Say, grateful heart, clearer consciousness, compassionate spirit. Thank you so much. You can be seated. My intention is to always love harder than any pain that we feel, and this piece is about that. It's called Love Wins. The dead man says that comparison is the thief of joy. But just this once, look to your left and your right. Extend an unsure hand behind or in front of you to feel your way, to wrestle yourself free from the assumption of your unique misery. Surmise yourself silly. Lift the veil. I hate to ask, but you just must. Advancements may deem the human condition more complex, but baby, I assure you, there is nothing new under the sun. We did not invent or prevent any breaking news. Eras catch fire as two spirits, too spirited, stunned by stinging secrets, find each other and another and another. And despite days devoid of plenty, there is abundance. I am full. We are right-minded at our smallest. Before, between, and because of sisters' wrath, fathers' sin, mothers' fear, teachers' hate, pastors' lust. A fury of soul claps in hidden hallways. Our hungry tongues are born of moonlight dances and coffee dates. Our love fits and flourishes, and sometimes we get stung. But our love is not a punishment. Not one of us is being punished. We are waves, soft, frantic, dependent on tides and laws laden with sloth and gluttony. We are dancing anyhow, no matter what. Our dogged breath endures, our mouths recycle demands of decency from satellite gatekeepers. Unearth your ugly. I want your mangled and majestic to touch mine, touch me, scary and shredded. The delicate, rancid sweetmeat of the throwaway babies must mobilize. Their disgust is our desire. The wound runs around and through us like an endearing orbit. The same unsavory smudge graces each of our flushed, plump cheeks, the delirious bastard children of the kingdom. I need your worst to find my best. Your dark heart on my tongue, wrought with wrong turns and rage, melts into me, sweetens my sour and cools the venom in my veins. We walk the plank in unison, in eager lockstep, rusty spokes on the same worn wheel. We are artist and muse, performer and audience, sideshow and concerto, bondage and freedom. Never forget that we were once the same family of monsters, ogres wandering and worshiping in the same forest. Let the scar on your heart remain exposed so that we force all of their hands to open doors to life, to love, to joy, to freedom, to choice, to agency, to us, to them and him and her and you. And because of love, we will always win. Thank you.
Indeed, love does win. Thank you, Kelly, for sharing your gifts and your words with us today. As adults, it's our responsibility to show our younger generations how to live a life that is influenced by Dr. King. We have some really amazing mentors right here in Tacoma, and I'm very pleased to know many of them. We bring you 3 individuals who represent the best of our community, who have laid a foundation of leadership to speak their own words about economic equity, the arts, mentorship, and activism. I give you Tiffany Hammonds, muralist for Tacoma, Tanisha Suds, creator of Black Moms Rock, and Brendan Nelson, youth advocate of the community and community organizer.
Good afternoon, good afternoon. My name is Tanisha Suds, and I'm the founder of Black Moms Rock. I am so happy to be with you here all today, celebrating Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.'s birthday and his legacy. I'm here today to talk to you about economic equity. And the points that I'm coming from are directly out of his book that he published in 1967 called Where Do We Go From Here? Community or Chaos? And Dr. Martin Luther King's vision for abolishing poverty was a guaranteed income for all. Martin Luther King Jr.'s vision of economic equity was to create the Poor People's Party and dramatize the reality of joblessness and deprivation by bringing those excluded from the economy to the doorstep of the nation's leaders. King, his dream entailed the government providing what we now know as UBI, a universal basic income. This tells me that he was a visionary who could see us where we are right now today. If we are to do his legacy justice, we must place economic equity at the forefront of our minds and efforts in making microeconomic decisions. A new model of economics is critical for us right now. We've already hit rock bottom with a reoccurring unemployment rate that we can't seem to exterminate that currently sits at 4.1%. We have a recorded median income of just below $60,000 a year and almost $48,000 a year in small counties, which is reflective of the income required to survive in 33 of 50 of the biggest states in the United States. The biggest cities in the United States. Before getting excited about these figures, just know that Seattle, the closest biggest city to us, is not one of those. And we have 45 million Americans that are still living below the poverty line. This is 1% decrease from last year, but no better or worse than a decade ago. Herein is the issue. We have no real economic progress and are experiencing a high rate of burnout, with most individuals holding more than one job to survive, no health care insurance for the working class, a consistent income disparity between whites and minorities, men and women, and this is what inequity has always looked like. Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. also stated, "The poor are less often dismissed from our conscience today by being branded as inferior and incompetent." That trend describes what we're experiencing today with more political leaders being women of color. However, poverty still remains. It's very clear that our society needs to focus less on jobs and more on income. Dr. King asserted new forms of work that enhance the social good will have to be devised for those whom traditional jobs are not available. The only narrative of his that I challenge in this is that he felt we needed more consumers. I propose that we need more validated dreamers. People of color and women have to know that we have value beyond social leadership. We need to begin employing people centered on their passions, skills that they have or need to acquire to do the job of their dreams, and from there create businesses, job roles, and make salary decisions. For instance, I challenge employers not to create another position and assign it a salary until you first selected an employee. I've heard so many employers hire a person and lament and say that they wish that they could pay that person more. You can pay them more by understanding who they are and humanize them before deciding what you're going to pay them for a salary. This is just one of many economic reformation solutions that will help create economic equity. We have to be brave enough, like Dr. King's legacy shows that he was, and put our money where our social change dreamers are. Thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is Brendan Nelson, and I serve at Peace Lutheran Church, overseeing the Children, Youth, and Family Ministry, and also serve as president of the Hilltop Action Coalition. When I think about this theme for today, to me, it's about letting every moment be an example of what we teach and what we counsel. Letting every action be a reflection of our beliefs, and letting every word be reflective of our own thoughts. The best leaders the world has ever known are the reformers who were accountable for their own change. The commitment for change has no days off and no time for excuses. It's a commitment to lead with heart and to add value to this world. I serve in a place that has been rooted in the hilltop for over 100 years. Peace Lutheran Church, a place where all are welcome, where the variety of people and gifts of our hilltop neighborhood and larger community are shared and celebrated. We seek to follow God's call by providing meals, clothing, short-term affordable housing, and assistance for those in need. Also serving with the Hilltop Action Coalition, an organization that for nearly 30 years has focused on empowering the Hilltop residents with the connections, tools, and resources needed to build community and to create a vibrant social capital. We work with the city, the police department, and many other agencies to address some of the most pressing needs in our community. Tacoma, as we all know, is a great city, but we can continue being a great city by pulling together and being more united. When we do this, the power becomes unlimited. The change or transformation that occurs from the entire community is something greater than just what one person or an individual can do. Tacoma is a diverse place. We have people of all ages and backgrounds who are skilled in many different areas. By working together, having our old mentor our young inspiring our old, and helping those who are in need, we all give fully. Only together as a community can we go beyond these individual means. Engagement is truly essential. I encourage each person today, if you have not done so, to get involved in your community, to become a mentor to a young person. Be willing to model hope and serve as a catalyst for problem solving and collaborative action. Our community needs you, and we all need each other. Let's have the audacity to be the change we want to see in our community. Thank you.
Good morning, good afternoon, whichever one is best. First of all, I would like to thank everyone who put the celebration together and allowed me to speak. I'm Tiffany Hammonds. I work with Fab 5. I'm also a freelance artist and a muralist of Tacoma. My students behind me are a part of the Ram Center through Roosevelt Elementary School, and this is their first live painting gig, so if we can give them a round of applause. I promise to be brief and to be honest. I would like to bring to the table identity, purpose, and opportunity. You see, working with youth, I see many behavioral patterns, some good and some bad, some like lacking self-esteem, mental illness, emotional damage, or a lack of faith. Let us refrain from allowing change to lose its definition by remaining complacent about the issues, and as we begin to change, let's remember how Martin Luther King advocated it must begin with love, therefore it must end with love, but what happens between needs some foundation breaking. Our youth are on the verge of losing what they have fully yet to discover, their identity. Their identity, our identity, exists within us. It's like an archive, or what us millennials call an iCloud, of all of our information that's kind of we pull from and we become our own individual selves. In the school system, I feel like students are too stressed and forced to become extrinsic learners, and those who refuse fall by the waysides. They have no time to develop who they truly want to be. So the other day, I asked my students, and I said, "What's your identity?" It was just, a casual class, and the silence filled their mouths. I mean, like, their heads, the gears in their heads were going at some hyper speed, and the first response I got was, "Can you skip me?" That's the perfect definition of identity, am I right? I mean, there's no wrong answer. So I continued to scan the room, and all my kids were in a daze as if I was speaking a foreign language they could not grasp. I believe students can grasp information. I just wanted to see what they would do off the bat. So I waited, and another student responded, personality? So now we're on track, and so I repeated. I said, I'm just curious to know what makes you you. The response in unison was, I have no idea. So the conversation continued, and they just started to describe themselves and saying things like, I'm mythical, and I'm a good runner, I'm smart, and I can pick out my mom's outfits. Then I realized it's easier to grasp what you are and what you do than it is to grasp who you are. As they begin to paint, I thought about my own identity. I'm like, man, I'm asking them questions I can't even ask them sometimes. I'm 21 and I don't have everything figured out. There's so much wisdom to gain, and I thought, what if I replace my what with my who? I noticed what I am can change, but who I am is connected to a purpose, a path, a destiny, a journey, my story, and my testimony. Maybe this year we can learn how to teach youth about who they are. Because when they know, we might realize there's more 7-year-olds and 15-year-olds who can combat the doubt that overtakes their thoughts, the anxiety that will try to collapse their lungs, and the depression that grows like a contagious tumor. They'll have a foundation to remind themselves of their importance. Above all, I believe there is power in the words that we speak. There's power in the words that we speak, over ourselves and over others. My pastor would describe words as seeds. Every word spoken has an intention behind it that can manifest. It doesn't matter if your seed is good or bad, it will have a harvest. So the seeds you sow must be intentional. So shout out to my parents. Your kids hear every single word that you say about yourself, that you say about others, and more importantly, what you do or do not say about them. It's necessary that we stop providing our youth hidden agendas and instead provide blank canvases. Opinions should never have power over their purpose. You exist because you have a purpose. You were created to succeed. I feel like we as people believe that it's easier to fail than succeed. It's another thing of complacency. And regardless of the resources of our situation, you are still able to prosper. You can't fail unless you never try. And please tell the school system there is no failure in learning. Each person has a tailor-made mission. And regardless of how many times we mess up, our purpose still remains. There's a passion and desire in everyone's heart, and I believe that's God's guarantee that it's already yours. The other day, a friend of mine was uplifting me, and for better words, he was gassing me, and I questioned his compliments because I didn't see it in myself. The response was, you believe in God, you think he made a mistake on you or something? I said, no, I just don't think I fully used everything that I've been given. That's when it reminded me of this time when I was 6 and my brother was 12, right? We played this game called Tekken. It was a fighting game, and my favorite fighter was Edo Gordo. Man, that's when I started falling in love with black men. Like, it was a beautiful chocolate Brazilian fighter. But my brother was so upset because this fighter had so many great skills and I didn't know how to use it. I would just frantically press all of the controllers, right? I'm over here like kick, 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 punch, 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 kick, 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 duck, duck, duck. And he's like over here strategically pressing his controller, and eventually KO would be on the screen. And I'm like, how'd you win? You know, I put in all this work. How did you win when you did nothing? You see, my brother understood his fighter's strengths, weaknesses, and important combos. He knew when to attack and how to win. I, on the other hand, knew nothing about my fighter. I just pressed buttons, hoping kicking him every 2 seconds would help me win. You see, for a second, if you can think of yourself as a Tekken fighter, do you know your combos? Do you know your important gifts, talents, passion, power, and your purpose? Because they are available to you, but you have to know how to activate them. My player had the same potential as my brother's, but I did not activate it. Purpose is activated, which begins when you know what you're capable of. I've been involved with many movements, and it started by the Tacoma Action Collective, and there was this one time I was marching, and I looked up to the sky and I yelled, "No justice, no peace." And in my head, all I heard was, who are you talking to? I felt like it took more than being heard for change to happen. That's when I realized the wisdom of Martin Luther King was to incorporate radical movement with faith, because faith without works is dead, right? So I was doing the work, but I had no faith.
But I look at you and I have faith all over again, because I know that there is power in the multitude. And I know that if you all recognize your purpose, there is so much more power in that. Racism to me is the negative form of power. And the scariest thing about people who want to maintain all the power is that they'll do anything to make sure you don't know about yours. So I encourage you to find your identity, activate your purpose, and make opportunities for others to do the same. And now I end with that I firmly believe in each one, teach one. Each one is provided for and poured into. Each one has the freedom to speak and question what they see. Each one is loved and motivated. Each one develops integrity, honesty, and faith. Each one receives attention. Each one is not involved in the school-to-prison pipeline. Each one is not involved in the school-to-prison pipeline. Hear me again. Each one is not involved in the school-to-prison pipeline. Each one learns empathy. Each one learns balance and critical thinking. Each one is a potential leader, a potential MLK. So we must learn that each one has no label based on their resources. Each one does not have a pencil every morning in class. Each one did not eat breakfast. Each one needs grace and mercy. Each one needs a great example. Each one has an identity, each one has a purpose, so each one should have the opportunity to show it. Please let these words not register in your minds, but in your hearts. Let us not put fears on the fearless children. Teach them to live their purpose. Thank you. I am Tiffany Hammonds.
Thank you. Thank you, Brendan, Tanisha, and Tiffany. And while there's a lot of commentary sometimes about millennials and what millennials are and what millennials aren't, I think Tiffany is a great example of all that is great about millennials and what we have to look forward to. Again, I just want to pause for a second and say, like, all the talent we've seen today and all of the wonderful people from Tacoma and the talents they've shared and the work they do, and I think that's what being the change is all about. I mean, sometimes I think we think it has to be some grand gesture, but really the change is what happens between the award shows and between the ceremonies and the certificates and the people that just get up every morning and just do good work because it's good work and don't need to be recognized or applauded for it. They just do it because it's in their souls and in their hearts to do it. And I think that's what we should celebrate. The City of Tacoma is continuing its commitment to bring positive relationships with the police and the communities they serve. Coming on stage now to say a few words are some of my favorite colleagues that I get to work with on a day-to-day basis. Police Chief Don Ramsdale and City Council Member Keith Blocker. Welcome, gentlemen.
Good afternoon, everybody. As you can tell, I'm not a millennial. But I wish I had Tiffany's energy. That was wonderful. It's an honor for me to be here today to talk about some of the things that we've been doing in support of our Project Peace initiative. The Tacoma Police Department is committed to collaborating with the community members to proactively identify and address public safety issues and concerns across our city. In 2015, the City of Tacoma launched Project Peace, which is partnering for equity and community engagement to continue building the relationships between the police department and the members of our community we serve. The Tacoma Police Department has continued this initiative by expanding and adding community engagement strategies into programs aimed at creating safer neighborhoods and fostering community trust. Since then, we've been making progress towards those goals of Project Peace. For example, in regards to training, Tacoma officers have been trained in fair and impartial policing. In addition to that, the department hosted a 2-day fair and impartial policing command and community leader training, where department leaders and community leaders had productive discussions regarding law enforcement and race relations, and also reviewed the department's profiling policy to ensure it has all the tenets of fair and impartial policing concepts. We're also in the process of training all of our officers in crisis intervention, so they will be in a position to more effectively deal with individuals suffering from mental health-related issues and crisis. The training will continue through 2018 until all of our officers have been trained in crisis intervention training, looking for alternatives for individuals suffering from mental illness away from the criminal justice system. We have also established a co-responder program where we have 2 dedicated mental health professionals working alongside our officers in the field when dealing with individuals who are suffering from mental illness or mental illness crisis. And we're also part of the team for the City of Tacoma and a homeless outreach team, addressing the issues of our community's homeless and trying to find alternatives and support for them as we move forward. As it relates to transparency, the department participated in the Open Data Initiative, where information regarding officer-involved shootings and officer complaints have been placed on the Tacoma Police Department's website. We've also posted all of our departmental policies on our website, and in 2018, we'll be adding the category of reported hate crimes to our website. We also host a 12-week Citizens Academy, which highlights the Tacoma Police Department's community-oriented policing philosophy. The Citizens Academy offers community members up and close and personal look at the way that the Tacoma Police Department is organized and provides an opportunity to learn more about the areas of our operations, investigations, and administration of the department. Just a month ago, we graduated our 49th class. In regards to recruiting and hiring, we've been focusing on increasing the diversity of our department to better reflect the community that we serve, through such things as providing recruiting and hiring workshops, as well as expanding the diversity of our recruiting and oral board cadres. And once officers are hired and have gone through the academy, we've established a Project Peace Community New Recruit Panel comprised of Project Peace board members. The panel allows new officers to interact with diverse members of our community to share their experiences and thoughts through an interactive and productive dialogue. And since the implementation of Project Peace, we've developed and continued to build many positive working relationships throughout our entire community. And we actively participate in many community events and stakeholder meetings as we continue to grow and become part of the communities that we serve. One of our main focus areas has been to build positive relationships and increase trust with our city's youth. Through our partnership with the Boys and Girls Club, we've collaborated with the South End Boys and Girls Club and the Tacoma Fire Department to create a 6-week public safety cadet youth academy. Middle school kids are introduced to various aspects of police and fire services with the goal of increasing trust, improve relationships, and selfishly planting the seed for future consideration in the public safety profession. Later this year, we will be partnering with Al Davies Boys and Girls Club to hold a similar academy, and we've been working with Safe Streets in their youth leading change and have had two academy courses with them as well. And our partnership with the Tacoma Public Schools, which is a wonderful partnership that we have. Our school resource officers have engaged all 10th grade students in a course called Breaking Barriers and Developing Trust Between Youth and Law Enforcement. As a part of our ongoing efforts to increase non-enforcement youth engagement, we encourage our officers to routinely stop by community centers, schools, late-night programs, and other youth engagement opportunities to have the opportunity to shoot a few baskets, play a few games, and have fun and generate great trust and relationships with our youth in the community. We are committed to the tenets of Project Peace, which is building trust, relationships, and understanding across our wonderful city, and look forward to continuing our work as we move through 2018. Thank you very much.
Good afternoon, everyone. First, I would like to thank the search committee for allowing us to have some time today to give the community a brief update about the work that we have done as it relates to Project Peace. One of the goals of Project Peace is to provide young people with more opportunities to have positive engagements with our men and women on law enforcement. I am here to let our young people know that their voices matter and it will make a difference in the city of Tacoma as we continue to build trust between law enforcement and our communities. Project Peace Executive Committee and Tacoma Police Department has been doing significant work to make sure that we could bridge the gaps, to help our communities know that law enforcement is here to serve and protect, and also to help our young people understand the hard work that law enforcement face and the disparities that our young people face in our communities. As we continue to do this work, it's going to take a lot of efforts on both parts. And I'm committed as a council member and continuing to do this work so that we can make sure that we can avoid tragedies that happened in the city of Baltimore and the city of Ferguson. I also want to make sure that as a community, we continue to work together, because each positive engagement that we have with law enforcement and our young people is a step in the right direction to fostering trust in our neighborhoods. Again, this is not a cure-all for all the problems. However, police and youth dialogues is something that we want to continue to have in our Tacoma public schools. And as we continue to do this work, it will help us get a better understanding of the experiences that law enforcement has and our young people have. So I want to encourage all our young people to continue to participate in these dialogues, because these efforts will not go unnoticed and will overall make our neighborhoods and the city of Tacoma a better place. So if you're interested in participating in these dialogues, this is for our young people, there's a booth out in our hallway that you could sign up for and become a part of this list so that we could reach out to you in the future. So thank you all for coming out here today. I want to remind you all to be the change that you want to be in our communities and continue to enjoy this day of service. Thank you.
Hello. I'm Committee Chair Erin Lee, and on behalf of the City of Tacoma's Events and Recognition Committee, I would like to take a moment to recognize a person who has given so much of herself to this yearly event, Linda Burgess Duncan. Linda, in recognition of 20 incredible years of service and what we hope is your future participation, we'd like to present you with this plaque and thank you for so much of yourself. To all of you, thank you so much for coming out and participating in the City of Tacoma's 30th annual Martin Luther King Jr. birthday celebration. A special thanks to all of our sponsors, those who participated in our community fair, and also the Tacoma Children's Museum. Thank you.
Hello everyone, my name is Ashley Jones and I am Vice Chair of the City Events and Recognitions Committee. I would like to encourage everyone around here to think of any way that you can be the change. If you would like to join our committee, we are accepting applicants, and you can send an email to mlk@cityoftacoma.org. I would also like to encourage you to fill out that survey. That survey will be our way of knowing what type of change you would like to see in our program. Thank you.
Thank you to the City of Tacoma's Events and Recognition Committee. Can we give them another round of applause for all their hard work? To finish out today's program, and to lead us singing and dancing through the rest of our day, please help me in welcoming the Meeker Middle School Combined Choir, Orchestra, and Band performing Glory from the movie Selma. While no place is perfect, I think we can agree that we live in a city that is full of talented, committed people that work every day, exuding the values and commitment of Dr. Martin Luther King. As we leave today, honor your talents, speak your truth, and be the change. As Dr. King said, in the end, we will not remember the words of our enemies, but the silence of our friends. I'd like to take this time to thank everyone who made today possible. Also to congratulate Dr. Gordon again. Thank to all the performers and the audience, and everyone who came out today to make this day a great day. You're appreciated, and I wish you a really, really wonderful rest of your day. So while the choir keeps going in, I think it's really been amazing to see all the talents that we have in the city. And while I only had 20 hours to prepare what I would say to you, I do feel like today has been just we've got to see the best of the best we have in Tacoma. And I think wrapping up with these wonderful kids from Meeker will just be great. So again, have a wonderful day, and thank you.